Meantime, the president is not wasting any campaign opportunities. He is hitting 4 key battleground states before arriving in Charlotte for the Democratic National Convention. Let's take a look at those states where the president is headed. He's going to be paying a visit to Iowa, and if you look at the poll numbers, this race could not be any tighter. Take a look at Iowa, 45% for the president to 44.8% for Mitt Romney. That's the Real Clear Politics average. The president also headed to Colorado, where it's a 47.6 to 46% race. In Ohio, if I can get the magic board to call up the Ohio numbers, 46.6 for the president to 45.2 for Mitt Romney. The president also stopping in Virginia, and I just can't make the Virginia button work. Well, let me tell you the numbers in Virginia. There we see it, 47.3% for the president, 46.7% for Mr. Romney. Now, only in North Carolina, among all these polls, only in North Carolina does Mitt Romney come out on top in the Real Clear Politics average, 46.5%, about a point and a third better than the president's 45.3%. Let's talk about it now with David Drucker. He's associate politics editor at Roll Call. You know, the folks at Gallup were taking a look at the quote-unquote post-convention bounce for Mitt Romney and not finding any. Does that matter? Do you agree with their assessment?
Well, Gallup's professional. They do a good job, so I'm not going to argue with Gallup. And you always want a bounce coming out of the convention if you can get it. But the reason we call it a bounce is because it usually comes back down to earth a little bit. And so I think that to look at Mitt Romney's convention, we have to ask, did he accomplish the goals that he set out to accomplish? Did he get done what he needed to get done? And from the perspective of making sure people know more about who he is as a person to combat the Obama administration's, I should say the Obama campaign's narrative of him as an evil businessman who wants to take all of your money and send it overseas, I think that they did something that was very necessary. People know about his private life. They know that he's a good guy. They know that he's generous. And so now they need to continue to make the case that his policies would make the country better, would create jobs, and I think that's where the debates are really going to come into play.
Well, and a lot of money has been spent trying to characterize both of these campaigns, and so far the Democrats have spent more. When you look at the total outlays so far, Governor Romney and the Republicans have spent about $326 million on this race. President Obama and the Democrats, $481 million. And there is still money yet to be spent, with Governor Romney and the Republicans having about $119 million in the bank. President Obama and the Democrats, $103 million. So, you know, at this point, these two are essentially tied. The Democrats have spent more money, but Romney has more in the bank. That's got to be good news for his side.
Well, their plan was to survive the summer when Governor Romney only had access to primary money, not any of the general election money he's been raising. And they felt that if they could get through the summer and all of the personal attacks on Romney's character and his business career, that they would emerge from their convention finally with all of the money they've been raising to spend, and it would put them in a good position going forward. And I do think in the battleground states like Ohio and Iowa and Colorado, where they can now unleash all of their money, they're in a very good position. And the question then remains, do they have the ground game, the get out the vote operation, and the connection with voters on the ground to turn their voters out? Because we know that the Obama team is doing this at a level probably technologically that we've never seen. They've spent a lot of money invested there, and they're going to be able to do what they need to do there. Of course, the caveat is you can turn them out. You can't force them to vote for you. Yeah,
voters know President Obama, or they think they do. I mean, they see him on TV every day. Yep. He's able to use the bully pulpit of the presidency. If the Republican convention was the start of introducing voters to Mitt Romney, then he's got the money to spend to be able to highlight some of the accomplishments that he wants people to know about.
Correct. And what I think that is important for him to do now is to focus on his plans for fixing things. It doesn't have to get too complicated. I'm not a big fan tactics-wise of getting into deep specifics with a lot of white papers.
The 59-point plan didn't do it for you?
Well, politically, it doesn't help matters. That's why Mitt Romney boiled it down to a 5-point plan.
Yeah.
But I think he needs to spend a lot of time talking about his plans for tax reform and things of that nature. I do think the convention was the place where he needed to talk about who he is as a person. And I think now he needs to go forward and talk about how his policies are going to make the country better. And I think he needs to attack the president from a leadership perspective, which I think he's done a decent job at. And I think that's why the debates are going to be so crucial. And, of course, the president gets a chance this week to reset his presidency a bit if he can. He's going to try and explain why we're doing as best as we can at this point, probably better. And if you just give me a little more time, if we don't go back to the policies that got us into this mess, then we're going to make sure we end up where we want to be. That's going to be a big argument of his. We know that he's a very effective campaigner, and so it'll be interesting to see how the public reacts to his nomination acceptance speech on Thursday.
We started off this segment by saying, highlighting the polls that show these two campaigns essentially tied. It's going to be interesting to watch the next 64 days. David Drucker, thanks for watching it with us.
Thank you.